are, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
We are here.
This is
We are
episode
here.
28.
Oh my gosh.
Is that true?
No, I just lied straight to your face.
I don't know why you said it like that. Is that true?
We are in the business of lying to our listeners. And straight to your face, too, apparently.
Apparently.
Yeah.
We're the Fox News of podcasts.
We My God, that's our new brand slogan.
That is.
That's it.
We're the Fox News of
Oh,
podcast.
good. I'm so glad.
That's kind of terrific, actually. I love that for us.
Yeah. Especially since today's theme is about comebacks.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really know how that was related, but it was in my head. And yeah, so.
Yeah.
here we
Well,
are,
I think that
comebacks.
Fox News would support any comeback, whether or not it was a good idea.
That's true.
Depending on the person, right? I mean,
That's true.
they love a resurrection of a fallen figure. Here's looking at you, Bill O'Reilly.
I don't want to look at Bill.
I don't either.
No.
Let's not look. Yeah.
Let's not.
Yeah. Well, today we're talking about comebacks.
Yes.
All the greatest, the latest, all of it. But yeah, first we got to talk about some gall.
We
Some
do need to-
unmitigated gall.
We do need to talk about gall.
Aaron, do you want to go first?
No.
Oh. Okay. Keith,
that
do you want to go
true?
first?
Because I forgot what I was going to say.
All right. While you remember.
I'm so sorry.
That is fair. There's many times I forgot what I'm going to say. You're going to remember it as soon as we move on.
As soon as we move on.
to-
Okay.
Yeah, I can go first. Mine is just the human body and just all of its frailties.
Yes.
My latest is that there's a weird pain in my shoulder that like whenever I'm like trying to cut bread or something, like I can't quite lift my arm up. So that feels great.
Not your bread cutting arm.
Not my bread cutting arm. And I don't know, like I think we've talked about this that I will get bruises from I have no idea where. Like I'm just constantly knocking into things. I'm constantly like,
Just pinballing around.
yeah, just pulling muscles left and right. I have no idea. So one day this just started and I'm like, well, that's fun and it's not going away. But now the best part is that Winona Ryder, the little cat, has discovered that she loves fetch. She loves it so much. And in fact, like on Thursday and Friday, all morning, she kept bringing me her like little worm toy that she just wants me to throw again and again and again. She doesn't get tired, this girl. And so each time I feel my arm and I'm like, well, there it goes. There's one less throw that I get in my life. Like it's just, I'm on
Less use of my arm.
I'm on a ticking clock and this arm is just going to fall off at some point. And maybe it'll fall off mid-throw and that'll be a nice
She'll bring
thing.
it back, though.
She will. She'll bring it.
That's a good point. That is a good point.
She will drag it. So anyway, all that to say, the human body can suck it. Because just random pains out of nowhere that just won't go away. So that's the latest.
That's a good one.
Where are you at with gall?
My gall, mostly, I've reached the point a little bit, and the Olympics end today, but I've kind of got Olympics fatigue a little bit, because we've been watching a lot, But
too.
my unmitigated gall is I didn't find out her name, which maybe was rude, but the woman announcer for the gymnastics.
Oh.
I got real tired of her bullshit real quick, because anytime anybody made the slightest mistake, she'd be like, here's what they did wrong.
Oh my
And
God.
then replay it, and then she'd break down. It's like, no shit, Sherlock. We know what they did wrong. Her foot landed wrong on the balance beam.
Yeah.
Like
or
you-
she stepped out of bounds. That's
Right.
not hard to see.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was just like, every time somebody would do the slightest, and these are world-class athletes, right? Like, they're just, they're at the top of their game. They're a million times better than any of us will ever be at what it is they're doing. And it's just like, I don't their thumb is like an eighth of a degree off, and this bitch is like, see? This is what the problem is, and this is why she's gonna get penalized. And it's just like, we don't need it. It makes it worse.
Is she a former gymnast?
I think
I think
so.
so. Did
Yeah.
you notice, too, that she would call out penalties and then the judges wouldn't penalize
Right.
them? And they'd
Yeah.
be like, wow. She'd be like, I'm surprised. That was a penalty. We're like,
Jesus.
Yeah.
So she came ready to just eviscerate
Yeah.
this
She's
team.
a real negative Nancy.
Well, we
Yeah.
don't need that.
No.
Not in 2024.
No.
no.
No, we need somebody that like in Best of Show, like the
Yes.
Fred Willard character that doesn't really know what he's talking about. Just have somebody
Give
in
that
there
dog a
that's
top
just-
hat and a
Yeah.
pipe.
Yeah. Yeah, they need like us to just be like, that looked amazing.
Yeah.
I could not do that.
You're like that thing where their head went over their
Yeah.
legs. Like, I don't know what it's called, but it's great.
Do bodies bend that way?
Yeah.
Are we sure
Right.
this isn't a robot?
Like my arm hurts just from
Right.
something. I don't know what.
Yeah.
I don't think I could be able to. I
Yeah.
could do that.
She can't cut bread. Oh, she did the flip off that, but can she cut bread?
Could you cut bread? That's a real question, especially in France.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. I think that's some gall.
Yeah.
For sure.
Some gall.
Anyway,
Well,
do you remember your gall?
I do remember. My gall.
Good.
I do remember my gall now. Yes. And this is a saga that I feel like you
Oh.
probably need to be in on. But I've had some outages this summer with a certain internet provider.
Yes, you have.
And it happened again this week. It was seemingly out of nowhere. Mike and I are just enjoying some TV on a Tuesday night, and it just went out, all of our internet. And no outage. So it seemed like it was specifically us, which we couldn't figure out. Like, there was nothing changing. No one was working. There was no weather, nothing. So we're like, what is happening? So I did the dumb thing and got online with customer service.
Oh boy.
Right. And I opted for the chat because I don't love being on the phone. And started out rocky. She said, the first question she asked me was, are you sure it's out? There's no outage reported. And I said, pretty sure, can't connect. Then she said, did you try turning it off and back on again?
This feels like when you went to the doctor, which is another thing women shouldn't do.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
absolutely.
All right,
And I'm
okay.
like, yep, we power cycled it because that's like the first thing. Yep. Yep, we sure did do that. And then she's like, I'll be with you in a moment. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I wait 8 minutes. And I know it was 8 minutes because things are time stamped in a chat with a customer service person. That's fine. You got to do you. That'll only be important later. So she comes back and says, this requires a technician. Does Monday, this is last Tuesday, as in the following Monday, between 8 and 5 work for a technician to come to your home? And I said, first, I'm unclear. So we're at the point we need a technician. We don't know what's wrong. This requires a technician. Does Monday from 8 to 5 work? And I said, let me check. Because at this point, Mike was doing something else. He was unplugging the router and plugging it back, whatever. And so I walked to the room that he's in and I say, this is what she said. And he's like, what? What she didn't realize was we already had an install scheduled for a different internet provider that Friday. So I'm like, I should just say no, right? I mean, there's no reason for them to come out. And he's like, yeah, this took 2 minutes. This is important now because then as I go to type, I guess we don't need that. She says, you have been unresponsive for several minutes. Remember, we are only a click away and gone.
What?
And I was like, several minutes? You took 8. I got 2. And 2, in my opinion, is not several, but okay.
Right,
yeah.
right.
So I said to Mike, well, I guess that's done. She just left. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, she just said I took too long and left. And he's like, okay. So I ended up calling the person that sold us the internet because they're doing a bunch of installs in our area. And I said, hey, like, if anyone has a cancellation, we'd be happy to go before Friday. Like, we can make ourselves available because our internet went out again and we're just, that wreaks havoc for our business. And he was like, okay, I'll check the schedule this morning and see if there's anything this Wednesday morning. And he did. He was like, oh, there was one from 12 to, but I can only give you a window of 12 to 3. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. We'll be here.
Perfect.
Great. Wonderful. So they come, install, it works beautifully. So I call this other internet provider to cancel because you can't do it easily online. You can't chat. You can't do anything. So I have to call the number. And I know that this poor person has a set of rebuttals that they have to say to me. But I kept saying, there is nothing that you're going to say. The other internet is installed and yours is currently not working. Like, it doesn't work. So we're done. And he repeated for almost 8 minutes because I counted the time I was on. Well, we could switch you over to this one. We could switch you over to this. To the point that I finally was upset enough that I just said, where was all of this like a week ago when I was still an actual customer? Where were all these extras that make it so much faster and better? Because until I called, apparently I was in the tier that was just, you get shitty internet because you've never complained. I don't know. And then he was like, well, you're also renting the modem and routers from us, so you need to return that. I was like, cool. Will do. Let me know.
Can I do that sometime Monday between 8 and 5?
Yeah. And he's like, if you go to this spot on our website, you can print a label and then, you take it to the UPS store, basically. And I was
Great.
like,
Easy.
Another step. Sure. Yeah, not a problem. It's 6 years old. What are you doing with it?
They're just going to turn around and put it in the trash.
Yeah, exactly. But so anyway, that was this week's saga with the internet. And it was amazing that he fit us in because then we were really only without internet for maybe a day, but
That's awesome.
And it's working. It's entirely different. I have to say my work life is improved by a half an hour at least.
Wow.
Because before some of the programs I used would kick me out after a certain amount of time. It's like they just got tired of trying to keep up. And now I worked all day and didn't have to get kicked out.
What?
I know. And everything I uploaded was there.
Oh my goodness.
I know. It was a miracle.
Also, I think that this previous internet provider, which again shall remain unnamed, is having an issue because they've had some major public relations issues this summer with like widespread outages throughout the metro area, including like hospitals and stuff like that.
Oh,
so
I didn't tell you the best part.
Oh,
before I could even talk to a technician or chat online, I had to fill out a new user agreement. And the first 3 things were, 1, you are not guaranteed 911 service with us. You need to have a separate line. 2, we are not liable for any damages or losses your business may suffer from an internet outage.
Oh my
And 3,
God.
it was another thing that was directly related to their other internet problems. I had to initial all of those things and sign it before I could even talk to someone.
they're gonna be just dead in the water, right? Like in the next few months, they have to be. That's ridiculous.
Because the thing that he offered was me to move to this other company that bought them out. He said, well, we can move you over here and it's faster. And that's when I thought, did you do this on purpose? Because then I had to sign the user agreement and now you're trying to move me to this other company.
Yeah, that feels calculated.
Right?
You're
like
out.
you just, I mean, this is my version of internet. Like you just flipped the switch on our internet house. And they were like, we'll get the Johnsons and everyone will fall. So
That sounds right.
You have some gall, internet provider.
God damn, you do.
I will say this, though. I think if you ever do have like a free lunch hour or anything, I've had to return cable, like a cable box and stuff to MediaCom. And then you have to go into their office and you have to stand in line and like there's several customer service people. It is so entertaining to just listen to the people walk up and the things they come in and say.
Yes.
Just bring a sandwich and just find a chair and just sit and just listen. It's a great time.
Yes.
Like with the time I was there, a guy, an older gentleman had come in because he'd had some cable outages the previous month and he'd kept track of how long. And he's like, I was out of cable for like a total of like 135 minutes this month. And this is how much it should cost. And this is what I want my refund to be because I'm not paying for service that wasn't available. And this, and the customer service people are just like, they ran out of fucks to give about 3 minutes after they showed up to work that day. And this woman just stared at him blankly, and she's like, that's not how this works, sir. And he didn't give up. He for a long time, he stood there and kept repeating that he wanted his money back, and he asked to talk to his supervisor, and that's the kind of stuff that you get to see.
Speaking of that, speaking of money, I can get into my first comeback.
Ooh.
Do it.
Do it.
Which is Winona Ryder, the person.
Okay.
Because...
Not the cat.
Not the cat. I had to differentiate because I already mentioned Winona Ryder, the cat, so I had to differentiate. As you guys well know, Winona Ryder in the 80s and 90s was hot.
Top tier.
And very powerful, too. Like, she was able to make movies, get made, like, all of the things. Then, in 2001... she was arrested and charged for allegedly stealing nearly $5,000 worth of clothes from a Saks Fifth Avenue in Beverly Hills.
Which, to be fair, isn't that much clothes at a Saks Fifth Avenue in Beverly Hills.
There's probably a shirt.
Yeah.
Probably a shirt. She was convicted of vandalism and grand theft and then had to pay over $6,000 in restitution, do 480 hours of community service, and undergo counseling. She lost out on roles because directors couldn't get insurance for her as a result of that. And so she kind of just took a step back, and she
Yeah.
wasn't doing much of anything until, she was doing smaller things, but then Stranger Things in 2016 is when she really made a huge comeback, and she became known on probably a huge scale to fans that had never known her before.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. And the fact that she plays the mom to these kids that were basically her age in the time frame is
Yeah.
pretty cool. But yeah, the fact that, she just couldn't get insured for so long. So
That's
because
wild.
of like, when you think about the amount that was stolen,
Right.
not that much when you think
No.
about it. So I kind of wonder if there's some, sexist shit going on too.
What was the vandalism?
That I don't know.
I didn't remember that part.
Is that just got something to do with like, did she like damage something she
Maybe.
stole or
Oh,
something?
that could be. Okay, I see.
Maybe
yeah.
pulled a tag off or something.
Yeah.
Who knows? And I don't know what the community service was that she had to do. I'd be very interested to hear what that
Picking
was.
up trash in Beverly Hills. I
Like
walked
everybody-
around Beverly Hills. There's not that much trash.
But can you imagine like a tour bus going by like, oh, look, there's Winona Ryder.
Yeah.
Doing
community
some
service.
community service.
Community service. Well, I think you're right because that there is something at play there because celebrities have done way worse and have
So much worse.
stayed
Oh,
on
yeah.
tickets, done more. I mean,
Yeah.
DUIs out everywhere, which in my head is objectively worse because you
Mm-hmm.
were putting other people's lives
Yeah,
at risk.
yeah.
So
I mean, Justin Timberlake got a DUI earlier this summer and just
Yeah.
went right back to his tour.
Still on his
Exactly.
world tour.
yeah.
So he was wrong on top of it. It did not ruin the world
It
tour.
did not ruin the world tour.
What a funny thing to say. That should be the new thing. If anyone gets pulled over, you should say this is going to ruin the world tour.
It's gonna ruin it.
It's just going to ruin it.
Ruin it.
That's a good one.
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
your first one, Heath?
Do you guys know of a young lady named Jennifer Coolidge?
Oh,
Sure do.
that was my number one as well.
Do.
Most of us know, first became aware of Jennifer Coolidge. She was Stifler's mom in the first American Pie film. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a very big role, but it was it might have been outside of the actual pie scene. It was maybe one of the most memorable parts of the whole film.
Yes.
She grew up in, she's born in Boston in 1961 in August. Her birthday month we're in her birthday month.
So she's in her 60s.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's a distant relative of President Calvin Coolidge.
Did not
Really?
know that.
Yeah. And while attending the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York, she waited tables with another aspiring actress that you may know as Miss Sandy Bullock.
Really?
Yeah.
I do know her as Sandy. Thank you for
Yeah,
using her
yeah,
nickname.
yeah.
Yeah.
We are on that nickname basis. Yep.
So before American Pie, she appeared in an episode of Seinfeld, and she had small roles in a few movies that I've never heard of. A Bucket of Blood and Plump Fiction.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what those were. As I mentioned before, her first big hit was American Pie. She followed that up with the role of Paulette Bonifant Parcell in Legally Blonde and its sequel, and also appeared in American Wedding, the third American Pie movie. And then after that, she was in a lot of she guest starred on lots of TV shows, including Frasier and According to Jim, a TV show I've never watched a whole episode of, but my dad has asked several times if I've ever watched it. He loves According to Jim and Big Bang Theory, and he will be like, "Have you ever watched According to Jim?" And
my
it's like,
God.
"No, I haven't."
Nope.
No.
And
know.
don't plan to.
Yeah, he'll tell me why he loves it. She did an episode of Sex and the City, and she was on Friends. And then she played Joey's agent on the Friends spinoff,
Oh.
Joey, for 2 seasons. She was almost on the cast of Desperate Housewives, but that part went to Felicity Huffman instead.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah.
Which then went on to other fame and
Yeah,
fortune.
that's what I was going to say. She's arguably more famous now for the college admissions thing than she is for any of her acting. She's also appeared in several of the Christopher Guest mockumentary films.
Yes, she has.
Like Best in Show. We could not talk or talk forever and still find things to not talk about.
Next to her ancient husband. Yeah.
But now so after kind of all that, we're sort of at the point in her career where things maybe took a little bit of a downturn, let's say. She appeared in the films Date Movie and Epic Movie, which were both spoof films in the same vein as Scary Movie, but way less funny. Her character in Date Movie was a send-up of Barbra Streisand's character in Meet the Fockers, and I would like a list of names of all the people who thought any of that was necessary.
Yeah. Yeah.
In 2010, she appeared in a film called Beauty and the Briefcase, starring Hilary Duff, which I
What?
know nothing
Wow.
about, but still I know is certainly terrible.
Yeah. Just from the
Beauty
name
and the
alone.
Briefcase.
She had a cameo in one of the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies. Oof.
Okay.
Oh boy.
All right.
This
And
is all not great.
did one of the voices in the Emoji Movie in 2017. So, yeah, that's right. Everyone take a deep breath. But in 2020, she appeared in Promising Young Woman as Carey Mulligan's mother, which is a good movie. It's hard to watch, but it's a good movie.
It's
Excellent
a great movie. Yeah.
And that same year, she was cast as Tanya McQuoid in The White Lotus.
Yes, she was.
She was the only character to appear in both the first and second season of the show, and she won an Emmy for performance in each season.
As she should.
Some other things to note about Jennifer Coolidge. She's a vegan.
Good. I need more of those.
And has a dog named Chewy that she rescued from a meat factory in Korea.
What?
Yeah.
That sounds like something one of her characters would say.
It does.
She was one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people in 2023. Wow. She dated Chris Kattan back in the day, the guy from Saturday Night Live.
What?
And despite uttering the now famous line, "These gays, they're trying to murder me," on The White Lotus, she's a big fan of the gays in real life.
As they are of her. For good reason.
For good fucking reason.
Her whole character arc in season 2 was just delightful.
It was amazing.
Yep.
So good.
Yeah. And then, I mean, at the end of season 1, she didn't come off super likable.
Yeah.
But it was what happened in season 2. And do you know what I found out recently? Her husband on The White Lotus, the actor who played her husband, that's Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, yeah.
I did not know that.
He's been in a bunch of
God.
small things.
Yeah.
Like he was in Lost, and he was, that's interesting.
Wow.
Jennifer Coolidge.
Mm-hmm.
One
She's
of
an American
American
She
treasures.
is an American
exactly.
treasure.
Yep.
Yes.
She was top of my list as well for comebacks. Okay, well, I'm going to go the route, kind of playing off Amy, into, women that made a comeback because maybe it wasn't fair.
Oh, yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence is a name you should know, right? 2010s, she was in the Hunger Games, X-Men franchises, seemingly on top of her game. Everybody loved her.
Yep.
And then in 2014, she fell at the Oscars going to accept an award.
To accept her Best Actress award.
And instead of just taking that for what it was, which is something that everyone does, people said that was a publicity stunt and we don't like it and we're not going to stand for it.
Oh.
And she lost roles because of it. Because there's seemingly the shift of public opinion against her, like, oh, she's just in it for the fame, like she degraded this important award ceremony. And so she only made 3 movies between 2017 and 2019 and herself confessed it was hard to get roles. So she just took a step back for a couple of years and said, fine, I guess I need to do some self-reflection and figure out what's going on. And
You
then
didn't need to do self-reflection.
She didn't need to do anything.
Yeah.
She reemerged in 2021 to promote the movie Don't Look Up. And at the time, she told Vanity Fair that she was nervous because she hadn't spoken to the public in a while. During the interview, she said that. And then she had a appearance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert and was very kind of reserved, and people really liked it because heaven forbid you be a loud lady.
Yeah, you sure can't.
And so then she has come back, and she said she's really prioritizing her privacy, but also like roles that she really wants to do. So I put it in the comeback category because obviously she was kind of going down the Jennifer Coolidge patch where she wasn't getting any roles. And then, but for something so ridiculous, because can you imagine legitimately falling and you're embarrassed because of course you are.
Right, yeah.
And then people are like, you did it on purpose and we don't like it.
I feel like it was part of, because around the time she was getting known as just this fantastic late night guest, because you never knew what she was going to talk about.
Yes.
She was always super funny. She was very open with the fact that she would get drunk on sometimes it almost felt like they were trying to get her drunk on shows so that she would say funny stuff. And it feels like, some people just didn't like that.
And when she did her comeback, one thing that I have grown to absolutely love about her is that she's a huge Housewives fan.
Yeah.
So, and she is actually starring in and helping produce a movie based on Housewives. So I say great job.
Yeah.
She had a kid in there too.
Yeah, on your new
got married,
endeavor.
had a kid. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know why we're, crucifying someone for falling, but.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yesterday on my run, I tripped and fell. And I hope that but the public opinion of me doesn't
This
change
show is going to
drastically.
tank because of that. Everyone saw you, and
I walked out of a client's office one time in heels looking at my phone and fell off the curb onto my knees right in front of their big picture window. And I still got work from them.
Yeah.
So
are you okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you fall on anything? Did you hurt your arm?
A little
Not
bit.
your bread cutting arm.
My bread cutting arm is a little bit sore today, but the brunt of it was the outside of my right leg. Kind of took it, and I was bleeding a little bit. But yeah.
Heath.
Yeah. No, they're doing construction over by Central Campus.
Oh yeah.
And so they've got part of the new street lane. It was a bigger step up, and I just caught my foot, and yeah, it's fine.
Well, that's better because most of the time when I fall, it was catastrophic. Right. So good for you.
I did I hit the ground and I'm like cool. I don't even know if anybody saw me. There wasn't really anybody around because that area is so torn up. So
would you like us to make signs and picket outside that construction area?
Mm-hmm.
What's funny is they had several signs up that are like sidewalk closed and like all these piles, and I'm just like, oh really? Sure, Jen, it's closed.
So you actually might be on a prank show.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be on a PSA and I'm like, see what this idiot did? We told him the sidewalk was closed.
Well, my next one is a man that we know and love named Michael Keaton.
Oh.
Yes.
Because Michael Keaton, kind of similar to Winona Ryder, and in fact, they shared some movies. Mm-hmm.
Is this all just an ad for the Beetlejuice?
I think it might be. I think it might be. I didn't realize it was, but it is. Yeah. He was hot shit in the 80s and in the 90s. I mean, he was friggin' Batman, the first Batman, before all the superhero glut of movies that we've got going. The original Batman. He was Beetlejuice. And what was really cool, too, is how multifaceted he was. Because he sort of started out as a comic actor. Had really big hit with Mr. Mom. A lot of other comedies in the 80s. And then he kind of shifted. Like, Tim Burton really saw something in him and said, you're going to be Batman, which I think I even remember when that first came out. Of a lot of us were just like, is he Batman?
Yeah, people were not on board with that.
No.
First got cast in that.
But then when we saw it, we're like, oh, he is Batman. That's him.
It's true.
And he did it. He did it. And he went on to do a number of films after that, especially in the 90s. There was that one film where he was dying, and it was just basically Nicole Kidman was his wife.
Oh yeah.
And it was just a hour and a 45-minute weep fest. But it was
also he was
really
recording
touching.
a bunch of videos for his kids,
Unborn
right?
child, yeah, and he was dying of cancer, and so it was pretty rough. However, then there was sort of just a dry spell, right? Like in the 2000s, early 2010s, there was not much from Michael Keaton until 2014 in the role of Birdman. He came back with a vengeance. And what was great is Birdman was sort of about a guy that was kind of making a comeback, or a guy that had, had his moment in the sun or his moment of glory in the past. And it was such a unique movie, and then there were so many like one-shot things, and so he was nominated for an Oscar for it, I think, well deservedly so. And then after that, he was off to the races again. He was in a number of movies. One of my favorites is Spotlight, the one about the Catholic Church scandal. Oof. It was very tough, but it was very good on it. So a lot of prestige films that he was in. Then he's been in both Marvel and DC again, because he was in Marvel in Spider-Man Homecoming as the villain. And then he came back in The Flash as Batman. I don't think that was maybe the wisest move.
Well.
But, whatever. It was sort of enjoyable.
Yeah.
And sort of kind of like, oh no, what happened here? Anyway, he's everywhere. And he's reprising his Beetlejuice role. And we will see how it goes.
Yep.
I mean, I saw just a tiny bit of the trailer. He's got the voice back. So that's something.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to feel about it. But I do feel great for Michael Keaton.
Good.
He's swell.
He is
He
swell.
deserved his comeback.
Yeah. And Tim Burton's pretty reliable. So
Tim Burton is very reliable. Yes. And it feels like I don't feel like this is like a cash grab. He's not Tim Burton isn't really the cash grab kind of guy. He makes a lot of weird stuff, and he just kind of goes in the direction of weirdness.
Yep.
And I'm all for that.
He leans into the weirdness.
Leans into it.
I like that.
Yeah. What's your next one, Heath?
Mr. Burt Reynolds. That's what
Whoa! That is a great one.
Holy buckets. That didn't even enter my thoughts.
Burton Leon Reynolds was born in February 1936. It is Burton Leon.
Also, I feel bad that I didn't date these people that I mentioned, like when they were born.
That's okay.
or
I didn't
anything.
either.
Yeah.
No, we never do
Heath-
as much research.
He's the thorough one. He's
Is
always the thorough
reliable, thorough one. Yes.
Burt and Leon Reynolds, a legend in the mustache community and beyond. For years, he told people that he was born in Waycross, Georgia, but he was actually born in Lansing, Michigan.
Really?
Yeah, where his father was stationed in the army.
You okay, Aaron? What are you laughing at? One of his lines. I love when Aaron's like a few paragraphs behind, but she's still just laughing.
He said it so throwaway. Started thinking about it.
I mean, it's true.
Oh, you continue. He was not born in Michigan.
I bet Tom Selleck's in that
Oh, yeah.
legendary status of mustache.
For sure. And the Pringles guy.
Yes. Yeah, he moved around a lot as a child, living in both Missouri and Florida, in addition to Michigan. So he was, he got around. He went to Florida State University on a football scholarship, but injured his knee in the first game of his sophomore year. So later that year, he injured his other knee and his spleen in a car accident. So he rejoined the football team a couple years later and was slower, but he's still a pretty good player. And then he lost. They lost a game. And the team blamed it on him, like collectively. They're like, "This is your fault, Burt Reynolds."
Jesus.
So he ended up quitting the team, which seems very Florida-ish to me.
It really does.
It does.
You probably said gay.
Yeah.
You doomed us all.
Burt Reynolds appeared in several theater productions in and around New York before landing his big break on the TV show Riverboat. He played Ben Fraser. He quit
he
after
did.
20 episodes because he decided his role was stupid. That's what he said. He thought this was stupid. Well, that earned him kind of a bad rep, and he had trouble getting steady work for a couple of years and appeared as guest star on shows like Alfred Hitchcock Presents and The Twilight Zone, stuff like that. In 1962, he was cast as, and I quote, the half-breed blacksmith on Gunsmoke.
What? Half-breed? What's half?
I don't know. They didn't really go into
Okay.
say which,
What halvesies
right.
were?
I didn't get the recipe.
Okay.
Immediately, the Cher song "Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves" popped into my head.
By the way, I was at a record store yesterday, and that was there, and I almost bought it, but it was a little too expensive.
Oh shoot!
Yeah.
Cher's got a song just called Half-Breed, too.
Does she? Oh,
Yeah.
she does.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking that was in Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves, but that I know I can hear it now in my head. I'm not going to sing it, but I can hear it.
We don't have the money to pay for that.
Yeah, we
No,
don't.
and it doesn't seem appropriate
It's
for
probably
me
not
to
great.
belt it out.
Yeah.
So he's on Gunsmoke. He swore he'd stay on the show until it ended, but then left 3 years later, about 10 years before the show went off the air. Because he didn't want to be one of 2 leading men. He said he kind of wanted to be the single role.
Okay.
Oh, when you got a mustache like that.
Yeah.
Yep, you can say that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So for the next few years, he appeared in several forgettable movies and claimed that he was asked to play James Bond, but didn't take the job because he didn't think the part should be played by an American, which is,
That also just feels like he lied, too.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
He says he was considered for the role of Sonny Corleone in The Godfather, but that Marlon Brando said, "No way, Jose." I'm paraphrasing.
That's good.
They met years later, and Burt Reynolds said that he told Marlon Brando that he was the finest actor in the world, and that Marlon Brando responded by telling him, "I wish I could say the same about you."
Jesus.
What did he do to Marlon Brando? Damn.
Yeah,
It feels like, especially that older generation of guys, their egos were like this thin. And so
Marlon
they really
Brando
had
a tiny mustache.
maybe that's why mustache.
I mean, a tiny, like maybe he couldn't fully grow a
That's
beautiful
what it
mustache.
was. Yeah, he had
I bet you're
mustache
right.
envy, for sure.
Shit.
He was not as prominent in the mustache community.
Yeah.
He was on the tier that they weren't allowing in.
He got a
Like, he was
Razzie for his
probation.
mustache. Is that what they call him? Yeah.
Yep.
So in the early 70s, he appeared in a film called Deliverance. That's the movie where the hillbillies sexually assault Ned Beatty. And posed naked for Cosmopolitan magazine, which
did.
I think we've all kind of seen that picture.
Yes, we have.
Yep. He claims that he was offered the role of Han Solo in Star Wars, but turned it down because he didn't want to play that kind of role at the time. So he's saying a lot of the biggest roles in movie history, like, could have been his, and he just decided not to do them. That's what he's saying.
I don't think I like Burt Reynolds anymore.
Yeah, it's getting weird.
Yeah, it's getting weird.
By the late 1970s, his career kind of peaked with Smoking the Bandit and Hooper and Smoking the Bandit 2 and Cannonball Run and The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. Those are all big, big hits.
But he didn't want to play Han Solo because that would be demeaning. Yeah.
Yep. So after his movies were becoming less and less successful, he segued into TV and produced the game show Win, Lose, or Draw, which with,
He did?
Yeah.
He produced that? That's wild.
Apparently the whole idea was based on he would invite people to his house and they would play that. And they just turned it into a TV
Do
game
we
show.
believe that, though? Because he seems to have a tradition of lying.
Yeah.
Well, he made Burt Convy believe it. And Burt Convy hosted this
That's
thing.
true.
I
Okay.
guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that game's been around. Like, I mean, the idea of just here, we're going to put ideas in a bowl and then you draw it and guess.
Right.
It's not a great new concept.
No, it's not groundbreaking. He also starred on the sitcom Evening Shade, a role that earned him an Emmy for Best Lead Actor in a Comedy Series.
I remember that one.
So that series ended in 94, and kind of hit another dry spell, but bounced back in a big way with Boogie Nights, playing an adult film director.
He did.
He was nominated for an Academy Award for the role. He was offered a role in the director, Paul Thomas Anderson's follow-up film, Magnolia, but Burt Reynolds declined, saying that he, quote, hated working on Boogie Nights, and he hated Paul Thomas Anderson.
Jesus. What a dick.
What is going on?
I think Burt Reynolds might need an attitude adjustment.
Yes, because, I mean, if you look at Paul Thomas Anderson's movies, he uses a lot of the same people over and over again. So it feels like Burt Reynolds is, I don't know why I'm defending Paul Thomas. I just am.
That's fine. Yeah, I agree. It's
my Rudolph's husband. So, you know.
That's true. He deserves defense.
So, yeah, he failed to capitalize on his latest career resurgence and appeared in some pretty bad stuff after that, including a remake of The Longest Yard and the Dukes of Hazzard movie, both in 2005.
Oh, boy.
He played Boss Hogg in the Dukes of Hazzard movie.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, he went from being in Paul Thomas Anderson films to co-starring with Jessica Simpson.
Yeah,
And Johnny
congratulations
Knoxville.
on
But
that.
he doesn't like Paul Thomas Anderson.
No.
He probably didn't, butter him up enough.
And, he died in 2018.
Oh, I forgot he died.
I did too.
Maybe wouldn't have gone in as hard, but I don't know. I stand by it. I stand by it. Yeah.
So when
like
you
a
said
dick.
he needs an attitude adjustment, you meant needed.
Needed,
Okay.
yes. I was trying not to, I didn't want to surprise you guys.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
Maybe. So, like his career, Burt Reynolds' personal life was also a wild ride. After his first marriage ended, he was in a long-term relationship with Dinah Shore, who was 20 years older than him, and I could have sworn was a lesbian. But I think she just hosted a golf tournament. I think that's why I thought she was a lesbian.
Or maybe is she a lesbian now?
I don't
Or
think
later?
she's alive anymore.
Well, okay. Did she turn lesbian later?
I don't think so.
Turn. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
He also briefly dated Tammy Wynette.
Whoa.
Yeah, he was with Sally Field from 1976 until 1982 and was married to Lonnie Anderson from 1988 until 1994.
That's right.
He left Lonnie Anderson for a cocktail waitress named Pam.
That sounds right.
As many of us do, he considered Sally Field the love of his life.
Ah, yeah.
It's got to be kind of hard for Lonnie Anderson to hear, but whatever.
And Pam.
Yeah.
What'd you promise that lady?
Poor Pam.
Poor Pam.
What was Lonnie Anderson known for? Like, I obviously remember her, but I don't remember why.
WKRP in Cincinnati.
That's right.
Yeah, she was the receptionist.
Yes. And not much after that, right? Like,
Not
she didn't
really.
really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what a mustache. What a life.
What a
Burt
life.
Reynolds.
Maybe when you have a mustache like that, you get away with being a dick. So that's why he.
It did,
just-
when I was reading through all the stuff, there was a very dickish personality to sort of shine through everything he did.
Maybe it makes, once you told us everything, it might make the football situation make sense.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
return back to that and think,
Yeah.
oh, they just didn't like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But very well could be.
Yeah, that very well could be. Okay. Well, I'm still going down the train of, should this person have needed a comeback?
Sure.
And that person is Vanessa Williams.
Yes.
In 1983, you might remember that Vanessa Williams became the first black woman to be crowned Miss America. And that seemingly went well until
It's also wild that it was 1983.
1983. 1983. And mere weeks weeks before her reign was set to end, Penthouse magazine does what Penthouse magazine does best and published nude pictures of Vanessa without her permission.
Sounds right.
The heads of the pageant then forced her to resign, and her title was revoked. And after that point, she had a lot of trouble. Obviously, there was, public opinion of that went a lot of different ways. She kind of said she personally, took a step back because why do you want to have to continue to talk about your own nude photos? Totally understandable.
Did the pageant, have a morality clause or something? Why did they go that route of firing her?
I don't know.
I don't know for sure. I assume it's because they thought, it somehow tarnished
Unseemly.
the Miss
Yeah.
America thing, which at the time was still, now I don't think it's probably, people regard it with very much,
No.
reverence or anything
I
like that.
feel like
Yeah.
now if a magazine published nude photos of one of the candidates in Miss America, you'd be like, that tracks.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, it wouldn't
Yeah.
seem...
I think now, the reaction would have been that was the shitty thing to do, Penthouse. You
Yeah.
shouldn't do that
Absolutely.
without their-
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I don't know if there was, some underground stuff there too. They wanted to pull that crown and didn't have
Yeah,
a
that
good
could
reason. There's a lot of things. But she worked hard to make a name for herself in movies and TVs and music. And she appeared in some movies like Bye Bye Birdie and Soul Food and received Grammy nominations for hits like Save the Best for Last and The Right Stuff. She also had stints on shows like Desperate Housewives and Ugly Betty. But it was 2015 when she finally received a public apology from the Miss America organization. Whoa. And as of 2022, it was announced that a limited series about her forced resignation is in the works. That
Really?
they're going to publish some kind of behind the scenes. So I like that as a comeback story because I feel like that ship was righted. There was something awful about that. And
I feel like she did pretty well in the 2000s and 2010s, like Ugly Betty and
Yeah.
And I mean, she sang maybe one of your favorite songs ever,
yeah.
right?
The Colors
Yes.
of the Wind.
Yeah.
Colors of the Wind.
And when did that come out?
1995.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
But notably, it seemed like for a while, her voice and stuff, but they weren't using her image
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah. which is shitty.
Yeah, it just is. What a terrible thing. I mean, it's, Jennifer Lawrence falling bad, but this is next level to have it pulled and be so public and you didn't give permission
And I remember too, and maybe this is just where I grew up too, that there was a lot of correlation between the first black one and then, the scandal.
Yeah.
It was a very much racist, undertone, overtone, all the tones.
Well, and it reminded me a lot, if you watch is it on Netflix, the Pam and Tommy series?
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of Pamela Anderson going through that with Penthouse as well, where they were just going to publish that stuff without her permission and she was trying to sue and all of the things that happened because of that. So it was definitely a plan on their part or a strategy to some degree, which they mentioned in there that the head of Penthouse was good at that, getting photos and stuff like that and then using it as blackmail or using it in a way that was completely inappropriate. So
Is he still alive?
I don't believe so.
Good.
I will say, despite all that, she's the most successful Miss America we've ever had.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know
Yeah.
the name of one other Miss America, not even the current one.
No.
Couldn't tell you. Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And that she did, she kept going. She kept
Yes.
working and she kept, putting herself out there. And so, it's a story of resilience.
I think she's got new music coming out.
Does
I
she?
just saw it yesterday. I think this week. I think.
And she's just stunning.
She is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good for you, Vanessa Williams.
Good for you. Well, for my last one, I've got a trio of late 80s dudes. One of them, Kiefer Sutherland. Kiefer Sutherland was riding high off of The Lost Boys in the mid-80s. And then Flatliners, that weird movie. And then he got engaged to Miss Julia Roberts, and she dumped him.
She sure did.
Yep, for Jason Patric. And then his star just fell, and he was nowhere to be seen in the 90s until early 2000s, I believe 2001. He was cast as Special Agent Jack Bauer in 24. And that made him a star, and then he rode that thing until I think he's still riding it. There's still, just iteration after iteration, and he's doing a lot of shows that seem to be basically the same thing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if it's maybe there'll be another comeback, later after, he just, because he's kind of disappeared again, I think. But there was a moment where it was like, oh my God, we forgot about Kiefer Sutherland and how cool he was. And to be honest, he was very attractive.
In that movie, I didn't watch 24, but wasn't like the first season or two like really good? And they were sort of weird.
They were so
Yes,
good.
yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, that first, and the way that first season ended, like it was,
And it was such a great format because we didn't really have anything like that at the time, and it was.
But then they just drove it into the ground because it was like, okay, after a while you start thinking, okay, 24 hours, when are they peeing? Like, when are we seeing them peeing?
And how much stuff can happen in
how
one
much
day
stuff
over
can
and
happen?
over? Yeah.
And why does this keep happening to Kiefer?
Yeah.
It's strained belief.
Yeah.
Yeah. My second one, Christian Slater.
Oh,
Ooh, yeah.
He was riding high in the late 80s from Heathers, from Pump Up the Volume. He was a...
Gleaming the Cube.
Oh, my God. I forgot about Gleaming the Cube. Yeah. And then in the early, mid-90s, he did a number of other movies that I can't really remember names. Lots of treacly romances and some, funny comedies. The one where he had a monkey heart.
Yes, with Marisa Tomei and Rosie Perez was that out? He like worked at a diner and they're like, we couldn't find you a real human heart, so here's a monkey heart.
Here's a monkey heart, and it's basically going to explode soon. So, get your lovin' in with Marisa Tomei. You never saw that one?
I did see that one.
Oh, you did this one. Okay.
Yeah.
It was weird. Why, like...
What
This
a
is how you
weird
want to
story.
spend your last few days, like cooking at a diner? Like, I mean, everyone's got bills to pay. There's nothing wrong with cooking at a diner, but
But if you're not going to have bills to
Right,
pay after
yeah.
a certain point, what are we doing?
Go live your life, yeah. So after that, he sort of faded away, Mr. Christian Slater, until Mr. Robot in 2016, where he returned with a vengeance.
Yeah, he did.
And I know you watched it. I loved that show. And it was such a perfect sort of strange role for him that turned a lot of his past roles on its head, and it was just really wild. And I think he's still sort of writing that. He was in there was the Dr. Death show, right? And he was in like maybe the second season.
Yes, he was in Dr. Death and the one about the divorced couple that she kills him and his girlfriend in the bed.
Yeah. So he's had a few
Yeah.
series after this. I think he's working on a new one right now. So he's still sort of in the midst of the comeback, which is great.
And he looks good, too.
He looks
He
great.
does look good, yeah.
Yes.
He's well preserved.
Well,
Well-preserved.
another well-preserved Jason Bateman.
Oh, yeah.
Another huge guy in the 80s, particularly because of his role in Silver Spoons, along Ricky Schroeder,
Who's an asshole.
who's an asshole. And then he went on to star in films like Teen Wolf 2, TOO.
Which is basically the exact same storyline and plot of Teen Wolf 1. It's just with a
Yes.
different person.
Yeah, which even at the time felt real weird, real sort of haphazard.
Yep.
But yeah, that's what he was doing. And then as the 90s progressed, he just it stalled real bad. Partly because of some drugs. He had some drug issues. But then, early 2000s, he came out in Arrested Development. And he's sort of never stopped since then. Like,
Right.
he's just kind of huge. He's been in tons and tons of movies. He's in this podcast now that is so huge, which I don't understand why. It's just, I've listened to it a couple times. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, it's just, they all just sort of tell dad jokes and they're bad interviewers and I don't like it. Anyway, but he's still riding high. He's done some really good movies, some really lots of comedies.
Ozark's a good show.
Ozark, absolutely.
Horrible Bosses. Love it.
Yes,
Horrible
he's sort of all
Bosses.
over the place. He
Yeah.
can do a lot, and he looks delicious. I don't like that I just said that.
New cut. He looks amazing.
He looks hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. But I also see a world in which all three of those guys hung out at some point in the late 80s or early 90s, you know? Like they weren't part of the Brat Pack. They were too late for that.
Yeah.
But it was like a sort of new, cohort
Yeah.
of guys that were playing sort of similar ages and things like that. What's up with you?
Ooh, let's talk about fashions.
Oh,
Fashions.
You know, we are expert on fashions.
We
as
are.
you can see.
Fashion forward.
Yes.
As you know, this is a fashion forward podcast.
We are wearing our gowns.
Yes.
And not sports bras and gym shorts.
Nope.
Not that.
Nope. Not overalls.
So, very rarely do new fashions come around. Like, almost everything that's in style now was in style, 20 or 30 years
Yes.
ago.
Facts, yeah.
In the late 90s, lots of the clothing was influenced by what was popular in the 70s. And what was popular today is almost like a snapshot of what was popular around the turn of the century. And so I've just got a list of a few fashion trends that I would say or the internet says are making a comeback.
Oh,
yeah.
they're currently making a comeback. Okay.
I see you, internet.
This is scary.
Okay.
So number one is cardigans.
Did they ever go away?
Was there a time period that wasn't?
Was my first thing too. I love a cardigan, and I didn't really know that they had gone out of style.
I was just gonna say, was there a time I wasn't supposed to be wearing?
Right, yeah. I'm like, shit. Should I be talking about fashion if I thought cardigans never went away?
Well, especially in an office environment, like they're sort of standard. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
But they're back.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and I've worn a cardigan with a Rock Band T-shirt and Chuck Taylors, before.
Because you are stylish.
I didn't know if that's impressive or not. Maybe I was on the wrong side of that.
I think it was impressive.
I think it was impressive. Yeah.
I bet everyone at work thought it was impressive.
I mean, I love a functional layer. What can I say? If loving a functional layer is wrong, I don't want to be right.
I'm so glad he comes in with strong opinions every time.
Functional layer. Okay. Yep, I do too.
Yep, I love it.
This another one kind of out of left field for me. Knee socks.
I have noticed they're making a comeback.
Really?
Yeah.
I hated when we were supposed to be wearing them because I could never get any to stay, like up at my knees.
Oh yeah.
Maybe that was just my weird legs. I don't know.
I don't think the knee socks now are the same ones I think of when I wore when I was like 10 years old that had the blue and red
I'm thinking of like
stripes.
clueless type knee socks.
Yeah. Although those striped ones made a comeback too.
Yeah.
For guys, because that was Evan went through a phase where he wanted all those all the time.
Wow.
And I was like, are we sure?
Yeah. I feel like you're just asking for a weird tan line.
Yeah. And it defeats the purpose of your shorts.
I can't imagine a situation now where you need to wear knee socks. For me, like I don't really. Maybe if you're gonna put cowboy boots over them.
Oh, maybe.
But I don't know why any of us would wear cowboy boots.
Or like knee-high boots, and you need like an extra layer or something. You know, like underneath.
Yeah.
So, knee socks, everybody.
Cowboy boots. Would any of us ever wear cowboy boots? Maybe it's just me that's a hard no.
If there was a situation where I needed to, I would. But I also don't know. Like they're not cheap. Like I'm not gonna go buy a pair of cowboy boots.
And
like,
see, I had a moment because in high school where I went, it was a lot of cowboys. Like it was
true.
Like my prom was full of cowboy hats and cowboy boots.
And you were line dancing my
heart out. So I feel like at that time, exactly, if they weren't as expensive, I probably would have gotten a pair. But
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
My dad wore cowboy boots all the time when in the 80s, and I mean he was not a cowboy.
Yeah,
like, that's just what he wore.
Yeah.
The next item on the list I found is claw clips, which Amy is wearing right now. Amy is rocking
on. I am so in fashion. It's not practical at all.
No.
My choice to wear this.
No, it's purely fashion.
Purely fashion.
I don't like, I mean, I guess when I was reading this, like, I don't have long hair. I don't need to use these, but I was thinking of other ways to use them. Like maybe like if you needed to keep a bunch of asparagus or green beans together.
Yes. Well, the tiny version comes on plants.
Oh yeah.
The tiny version
you're right.
holds up plants on like it's. I mean, you couldn't put hair in that version, but
no,
it's the same design.
It's good. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I want to know if like banana clips are coming back. The ones that go all the way over and sort of curl around your head.
That was wild.
That was
wild.
Banana
clip was wild.
Yeah, I didn't.
Those were sort of unwieldy too.
Yeah.
It seemed like those would like kind of migrate down, like gravity would take over a little bit with them. They'd sort of
very
move down
much
the back
so.
of your head.
Yeah. It was not practical.
No.
How about some bike shorts, you guys?
I've seen that.
They
for
are
sure.
back. Yep.
As I'm someone who bikes, I rode my bike here today.
We know.
Aaron was incensed.
I knew it. I knew when I was driving. I was like, "It's beautiful out," and then I was like, "Heath is running or riding his bike while I drive."
In fairness, you live like 20 miles away, and I live like 3 miles away.
Okay, 3 miles. Like that makes it better to a non-runner or biker. That's like you might as well be saying I have to run to California.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, bike shorts are kind of utilitarian. Like, it's not really a fashion moment at all. But I do remember wearing bike shorts as fashion when I was in middle school, and I had I had tucked my T-shirt into them, and I distinctly remember the look on my mom's face when she was about to explain to me that I look like an asshole.
Yeah.
And then decided she didn't feel like having that particular conversation at that particular time.
That's fair.
So,
yeah.
And I'm sure I just would have been like, it's called fashion, Donna. Look it up. Next up, bucket hats.
Oh, no. Did we need those to come back?
Nobody asked for it.
No.
I remember owning one of these, but I never actually had the courage to wear it.
Yeah.
Same. I had one and I never wore it.
Yeah, it felt very Gilligan, like Gilligan's Island,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
I did have a Kangol hat. You know, that was pretty
Whoa,
cool there
did
for a while.
you?
I
Yes,
would wear
they
that,
were.
I'd wear that backwards, and I thought it was very chic.
Oh, my God. You were the chicest.
I'd love
I
a
have-
picture of that.
I don't know where the picture is, but I have a picture of me wearing it. But I'm also wearing jean shorts and sandals with socks, and I'm standing on the beach in San Francisco.
That is so much information that I really needed.
I need that picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's a.
I'm sure the locals are still like, remember that idiot?
Remember that.
What about cargo pants?
Oh,
Those
yeah.
are back
Yeah.
with a vengeance. Yes.
And I remember 20 years ago, whatever it was, I owned dozens and dozens of pairs.
Oh,
of
I had some of
cargo
these
pants,
for
yeah.
sure.
They have so many pockets.
So many
pockets.
So many pockets.
And I'd use 2, maybe 3 at a time. They weren't jeans, so technically they counted as business casual, so I could wear them to work.
Right?
But they're casual enough that I didn't feel like I was being kind of forced to dress up, which
Yeah.
is, you know.
The sweet spot.
Right, yeah, on that Venn diagram, that's where you want to be. My older brother loves to wear a camouflage cargo short to this day. He still loves
Wow. That's a bold move.
them. If me and a box of camouflage cargo shorts fell off a boat and he could only save one of us, he would save that box of cargo shorts. I
It's
believe
good
that.
to know where you stand, though.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I'd just be like, see ya. Enjoy your shorts.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that was, bound to happen. I remember for a while, too, maybe like 2010s, there were the cargo pants that were basically like skinny jeans. And so the pockets were not useful, but they
No,
were there.
yes.
But they added sort of weird bulk. So it was like you had to be super skinny to wear them and have them look flattering, or else it was just like, whoop. and-
Yep.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah, there was for a while there was those jeans that had the flaps on the back
Yes.
pockets.
Oh, yeah.
And guys in Iowa wore those long after the rest of the world was like,
Yes,
has moved
especially the
on
ones
since
with
then.
designs. on
Rock,
them.
were they Rock Revival? Is that what it
I
was?
think so.
Yeah.
They went real nice with those. What were those shirts that John and Kate plus 8, that guy would wear?
Yeah.
I forget the name, like it's Affliction or something like that.
Yes,
right?
it was Affliction.
Yeah.
That is it. Yes.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, it
I
was
just had an
Affliction.
instant image
Oh,
come
Hardy.
in my head.
Ed Hardy.
Ed Hardy.
Yes.
But Affliction was there too.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Oh, what a douchey combo.
Just a terrible combo.
Yep.
And finally, what about fanny packs?
Yeah, those are back.
Uh-huh.
But don't they sort of wear them over?
Yeah, they wear them like
yeah.
side
Yeah.
purses. Yeah.
And what's wild is before they weren't really in fashion. They were just something that people wore. It was a utilitarian thing. It was sort of like putting your phone on your belt. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
there to like look cool. It just, you needed it to put your stuff in.
Yeah, especially when you were wearing your bike shorts and you didn't have any pockets.
And as someone who went back to school shopping yesterday, I can tell you that I saw all of these things.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
All of them. In abundance.
Okay, well, that's
And I
great.
think part of the reason fanny packs went away is because cargo shorts and cargo pants came in, and it was like, you know,
Oh my God, you're right.
this is pocket overload.
I wonder if there was like a big, fanny pack industry and big cargo pants, and they went at it.
They went
Maybe
at
there was
it.
a business war.
There's an insider movie in there.
Oh
I
my
know
God!
it.
Yes.
Like
know
West
it.
Side Story style.
Yes.
Because now cargo pants. Well, I guess they're back too.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're coexisting.
I never thought I'd see the day.
No.
I didn't either.
Yeah. So that's all for my fashion trend comeback roundup.
That was good.
And as someone who has no business talking about fashion or fashion trends, my only word of advice is that you, if you were around the first time something was in style, be careful about jumping on that bandwagon
Yeah.
when it comes back.
That's fair.
Fashion trends are for the young people.
They are.
If you're not careful, you'll end up looking like my husband sounds when he tells someone that he's on fleek.
Which he's been doing for about 10 years, so that's how hip he is.
He's on fleek.
He is not on fleek.
He seems to be so happy every time he says it. On fleek. I'm like, okay. No. Nope.
I kind of find that endearing. For
Passed
some
you by,
reason.
sir. Yeah.
Well, my last one, I want to talk about a comeback that is flaming out spectacularly.
Whoa.
And that is one Bennifer.
Oh my God, yes.
Ben, Jennifer Lopez. We've talked about it a lot on other podcasts, on this podcast.
But it feels like right now it's in the news again.
We talked about it as a comeback. They were coming back. They were getting it. They were getting married. It was a whole thing. And now, living separately, selling the mansion. He didn't go to that fancy 55th, was it 55th birthday party? He didn't show up.
Really?
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, basically they're getting divorced, but he moved out. He bought his own house. She said that was the final straw for her, that he actually bought a house separate from her to move into.
That would be a...
What about the other straws?
Right?
That was the final straw?
That was the final straw. And it's just down the street from Jennifer Garner, with whom he shares kids. So that makes sense in terms of logistics and all of that. But yeah, donezo. Wow. They have one movie, I think, coming out together. And
They do?
Yeah. I don't know if they produced it together or I don't remember the actual details, but it comes out this year, I think, sometime. And that's like the end of their together project. So
That's going to go straight to
yeah.
video on demand.
And I think it's just going to be like, okay.
Ironically, as no one will be demanding it.
But what I like about it is like they said things about each other, or insiders have said things about what they're saying about each other that we all knew. Like, you didn't know she was super famous, Ben Affleck. You didn't know that like her level of fame was sort of at a different level. Like she's not just going and getting Dunkin' Donuts and walking down the street in an old sweater. Like, it's next level. And that requires a level of time, work, and maintenance, obviously, that he didn't want to participate in. Seems like you could have known that early on. And then she sort of said the same thing about him, that she didn't know he was so interested in all of his independent projects. She thought they would be able to make the time work better, which is kind of a nice way of saying, I thought you were unemployed.
I thought I was going to be your focus.
Yeah, I thought that I was going to be the breadwinner and call all the shots, and you weren't going to do anything.
I wonder if they ever had that conversation of like, how is this going to be different than last time?
I don't feel like they did.
I wonder how because remember I watched that documentary, which was very strange that I did, but I did, and I reported it to you. I wonder how that like contributed to this, because it felt, they were really trying hard to show like what a great couple they were, but it was mostly showing like her trying to show the world what a great couple they were. And just felt bound to fail from the start. And people were warning her about it. Like Jane Fonda was like, don't do this. Like, this is not a good idea.
It felt on her part like the relationship was very performative. Like, see, we're doing it. We're the love story. Like, we came back. And I think maybe for him, it maybe was real at first. And then it's like, oh, this is kind of like, I'm wrapped up in a machine that I don't actually want to be involved in. Right. And I mean, she canceled that whole tour. And she says it was to focus on her family, but
I don't understand. I don't know if I complained about this on the podcast before or not, but like when stuff like that happens, like we all know why she canceled it. She canceled because she wasn't selling tickets.
Yeah.
Just say that.
Yeah.
Like I feel like saying I want to spend time with my family is okay. Maybe that's true, but that's not why you're canceling this tour.
Well, it just feels like, I mean, it's such a generic response now that we're not taking that at face value. We're like, ooh, what's really happening?
Yeah. Well, and that was amid all of the talk of him moving out and all of these things happening. So we're all like, well, also your marriage is falling apart. Yeah. So
but also, I mean, telling the truth about that really sort of takes out the salaciousness of all of it.
It does.
People aren't going to be speculating, and people aren't going to be doing that. They'll just be like, oh yeah, she told the truth.
Also, I just saw a picture, seemed like maybe a recent picture of him talking to Jennifer Garner, because they're co-parenting, and he looks like he just aged 10 years in the last few months or something.
Well, and he's very vocal about his sobriety, and that it's still hard, and it does, he struggles. And so I'm also wondering, her whole lifestyle would be very difficult to maintain that, or feel, you're not probably going to get the support you need, and you're going to be put in a lot of situations. Yeah. But anyway, all to say, comebacks can then turn back into
they sure can
again.
They sure can.
And I'm sure it's short, and I'm sure they both signed prenups, so there's really nothing to discuss.
Right. I mean, they had to have known this was probably going to happen.
I think so.
I mean, the rest of us seem to.
Yeah. Also, just feel like if you live with J-Lo, everything has to be a moment, right? Like, we can never just like have a take in or take out dinner at home. It's got to be like, I'm wearing my special brand of lingerie, and we should film this for Instagram, and I'm going to put a bunch of candles out, and
And it feels like too, she's very much she's fighting against age.
Yeah.
Like it feels almost maybe a little desperate too,
frenetic,
like fighting
almost,
it. Yeah.
You just wait, Jennifer Lopez. Your bread cutting arm's going to go someday, too.
Oh, my God, yeah.
it's going to go.
And let me clarify, it's bagel cutting arm.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't just cut my fresh bread. I'm not making bread.
I love that distinction was important. It's a bagel cutting arm.
Well,
That's the
that makes
only
more
time.
sense.
So
Bagels
I
are
need-
more dense than bread.
Right?
I need to get you the bagel cutter thing.
Apparently, because I have a bread knife that I use on the bagel, and each time I lift it up, I'm like, well, there it is. There's the pain.
I'm going to get you a bagel cutter.
Okay.
It's
Well,
changed
thank
my
you.
whole life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, there's one comeback that has yet to sort of, we don't know how it's going to go, which is Cameron Diaz. Because she retired in
Yeah.
2014, but she's coming back. She has like a couple movies coming up soon.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of excited to see it because I really like her. I liked a lot of her movies, and I think she retired probably to tend to family and like have a whole family with what's his face and
The Good Charlotte guy?
yeah. Joel Madden? Is that who it is?
One of
Yeah.
the Maddens.
Yeah,
It's either
one
Joel
of
or
them.
Benji. I'm
Yeah.
not sure which one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be an interesting comeback to assess
We'll
later.
report later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we will.
And speaking of comebacks,
Yes.
we're going to take a little break because we just finished season 1.
Season 1 in the books.
Be sure and take that clip and put that on Instagram so people know it's in the books.
It's in the books.
Yeah, we're going to, since we finished up all of the 80s and 90s, we're going to take a break before we come back and take another look.
Yep. Absence
gonna be
makes the
great.
heart grow fonder.
Oh, you're going to love us so much.
And
You're
if you
gonna
follow
miss
us on socials, you won't miss anything
No.
because then you can see exactly when the new episode's coming out. It'll go right into your podcast feed like normal, but then you're ready and you can mark it on your calendar. You can tell everyone.
And by the way, I just realized, we've been doing this a year now because our first episodes were August 30th
Oh, wow.
last year. And we were probably recording our tests around this time last year.
Yep.
Oh, what
So
a
we
joy.
deserve a break.
Why
Come
are
on,
you getting
guys.
mad at the audience?
I
They
don't
didn't
know.
ask for this.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just where it goes.
You get so defensive.
I do. Well, they're like collectively the audience is saying don't take a break.
Yeah,
which,
yeah.
Well, they can't even hear us now. They're probably crying.
You're probably
Sobbing.
right.
Oh, racked with
sobs.
sobs.
Listen. What you need to do is just go back and listen to some of the past
Start
ones
over.
because there's some good stuff back there.
The wordplay is so dense and layered.
God.
Certainly, you've missed some things.
The word. Can we? Oh my gosh, that should be our next advertising thing. We all do our own blurbs. Like we say, Heath Smith says the wordplay is so dense and layered. I like that.
I like that a lot. And also, it's true because Aaron will listen back and be like, "Shit, I missed that."
I know.
Yeah.
I cackle frequently when I'm making the sound bites because I'm like, also just something he says again, just I lose it.
Yeah.
And I know a couple in this episode I'm not going to be able to get through editing.
So go back, listen to some of that, and let Heath make you cackle.
Yes.
It'll be great.
But we'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon. Fuzzy Memories is a Broads and Books production. It's hosted by Heath Smith, Aaron Johnston, and Amy Lee Lillard. Follow us at Fuzzy Memories Pod on Instagram for clips and highlights. And follow us at Broads and Books Productions for updates on new shows coming your way. See you next time. On that note of a breakdown. Breakdown.
If this is a breakdown, I'm going to keep having it.
Now it's time for a breakdown.
Oh, God. Never gonna get it, never gonna get it, never gonna get it, never gonna get it.
Never gonna get it, never gonna get it, never gonna get it.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.